Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
And we are back after a 2-week hiatus from this as well, because we forgot to do it. Yeah. We had some busy stuff going on, to say the least. But that's okay. We are going to give you a big honking overflow instead, with all your questions from both weeks. And Hatman, as always, I will let you choose. How shall we begin? Politics or entertainment?
Flip a coin.
All right.
Heads is politics, tails is entertainment.
Heads is politics, tails is entertainment.
It's tails. We get entertainment.
It's heads. We start with politics.
Well, I'm flipping the coin here, not you.
Wait, what? I thought you were telling me to flip the coin.
I'm flipping the coin.
Well, flip it again. Best out of 3.
And now I don't know what to do. Got 2, 3.
We're getting Robo Hatman.
Alright, let's do it again. Alright, now it's heads.
Okay, so it is politics. And you're kind of roboting there, partner. So.
Oh. Connection is screwed up. Yeah, connection. Hold on. No, God. What's this?
I don't know. You're something's up with your connection.
Suck. Alright, can you hear me?
Yes, now we're good.
Okay, much better. Do you want to start over, or do you want to just keep going?
Well, I haven't even asked the first politics question, so I can just edit out those bits, so don't even worry about it.
Okay.
So, first question. The Autist Whisperer asks us, what are the negatives of having a democratic republic system? Like the United States, I'm assuming. Here's the thing about our country's system. It is so complex at points that some people have a hard time understanding it. That's why I think that civics classes should be a necessity to graduate from high school across the nation. I don't really like the idea of the federal government getting involved in nationwide in education, but I do think that should be one thing that they should pass a federal law on. Because if we expect every single person to vote, it's and to understand what their vote really means, we need to teach them what it actually means. Because here's the thing: to get your citizenship here, tongue not working, your citizenship here in the United States, you actually have to take what is akin to a civics class.
Yeah.
So I would hope that that's something that we would but that is one of the negatives, is it is complex. But that's the thing, though, is if you're going to create a system that is meant to combat tyranny from a governmental philosophy, and to cut it off at the pass every single time where it could possibly get its hooks in, that's not easy to do. On top of that, I think another problem is that if, and this is a big if you were to, if totalitarian rule were to come through, there is a possibility you could infiltrate all 3 branches of government with totalitarian thinkers. But the idea of that actually happening and there not being another civil war is slim to none. So
yeah,
it's a possibility, but it's such a long possibility that it's hard to see happen. I'm not of the opinion that really tyranny will ever reign in the United States, but I do think there is the possibility that there could be a leader someday who is so divisive and is so hell-bent on ruling the American people as opposed to leading them, that there will be another civil war. But that's the worst I could see. But anyway, back to the original question. Where I kind of figured how complex it was is today at work. I overheard a little bit of a discussion, I didn't get involved in it, about the Electoral College. And I'm like, I don't even want to get into this because I'd need an hour to explain it. And that's the problem, is it takes so long to explain, which is, again, that's why I think civics are so important. Hatman, what do you think?
Really, I think, like, the biggest weakness that we've got is just gridlock. Like, it's always really been a thing, but it's not something that we've thought seriously about it being a problem until, like, very recently.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, both parties tend to not want to compromise with one another.
Yeah, I think I see where you're coming from, because you think about all the damage Obama did, and it's been very difficult to undo it. And part of the reason is because of the gridlock. The way the gridlock was supposed to work was the only time a federal law, because federal laws aren't supposed to get passed very often. At least that was the founders' intention. But we've grown so reliant on the federal government that it's ridiculous. But the original idea was that it was going to just be like a law had to be very popular to get through.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that I think that's a very good point, because it is that gridlock that has made it difficult for us to undo the things that Obama has done. And there's a lot of other things that we need to, like on a federal level, we really need to do as well. And I almost feel like that gridlock also makes us a little bit too reliant on the courts. You know, like we've mentioned before, and Ben Shapiro's mentioned it, and I'm pretty sure that Andrew Klavan's mentioned it, and other Jonah Goldberg and other thinkers, is that if you get Plessy versus Ferguson right, we don't have to vote out Jim Crow. So, any other weaknesses you can think of, Hatman?
That's basically the biggest one that I can think of.
Yeah.
It's just it almost seems like an inevitability for most representative democracies, but at the same time, like you'd think that there would be some people that try to meet in the middle, but now, for the most part, it's like one party is going to be so hyper partisan and not want to work with the other, and I guess it just depends on who's in power at the top.
Yeah, and I think that's more of a sign of the times, really.
Yeah,
because there's not really a lot of moderate people on the left. That's the real issue, and oftentimes they're old school Democrats. Like in Chicago, there are Democrats that are pro-gun and pro-free speech. But that's because they're old school Democrats, you know, or they're the type of Democrat that grew up maybe south of Chicago, but have lived in Chicago so long that they just sort of like fell in with the crowd. So, anyway, but I would take our system over a pure democracy any day of the week, and I would take it definitely over like a monarchy. Ugh.
Oh, good God, yeah.
And if you guys ever are wondering if like the next question from people is why don't you like monarchies, read John Locke's 2 Treatises of Government. He basically shoots down the idea of monarchy in the first part of it. So I hate the concept of monarchy. There shall be only one man above me, and he is God. So, all right. Jerry asks, do you think the injunction in California on magazine restrictions would lead to the eventual death of gun control? I would hope that the Second Amendment would lead to that, personally.
Well, we can't be so lucky.
No, but at the end of the day, what it's going to take to really end gun control is for the judges across the United States to stand up to people who basically disparage the Second Amendment for feelings of emotion, as opposed to any sort of logical argument that has been made against the human right of defending yourself, and also an argument against the idea of having a weapons market for sport. I have yet to hear a good one. So, regardless, I think that once we start enforcing the Second Amendment against the people who want to take away those rights from us much more efficiently, that will be the end of gun control, and that will be the end of the debate, but it's going to take time. I think that lately we've seen some very good strides in it. I think that the first big one that I saw was when the Illinois Supreme Court not the Supreme Court, but the Illinois courts struck down Pat Quinn's ban on concealed carry. This was back in 2014, I think. It was a big deal here in Illinois because Chicago was getting more and more violent. More and more people wanted their concealed carry. But then afterwards, Rahm Emanuel just banned guns in the city of Chicago, which is one of the dumbest moves I've ever seen in my life because it only got more violent. And then again, Rahm Emanuel is a moron. But to citizens in the rest of the state of Illinois, myself included, now the fact that we can get our concealed carries, and it means that we feel safer. You know? The fact that I can throw on my jacket or my suit coat and then have a holster underneath it, and just in case I've got to go into a place where I'm a little worried if it's kind of sketchy, a gun with me, it makes me feel safer. It's the little things, and especially with as crazy as our world seems to be getting these days, I think it's a good idea. It's like that, gun ownership, my entry into the NRA, and also me starting to get back into boxing and then take kickboxing lessons on top of that. Those are all part of basically me arming myself to just to be prepared, because I'm huge. I don't think that many people are going to mess with me. I walk into a room and people are like, you can look in their eyes and they're like, yeah, I don't want to fuck with that guy. But sometimes you get a crazy person. And I've had to deal with crazy people when I was working security and so on and so forth. So, but mostly people don't want to mess with a guy who looks like Wilson Fisk with a beard.
That's always a plus.
It's a damn good deterrent. They needed me in the Cold War, not nukes. All right. Hatman, do you have anything to add to that one?
What was the original question? I think we kind of got off on a tangent.
Do we think the injunction in California on magazine restriction would lead to the eventual death of gun control?
No, gun control is going to... They're going to keep pushing for it for as long as they can.
Yeah, it's
just like if a Democrat takes office again, at the presidential level, that's going to be one of the big things that they push for.
Yeah, exactly.
Is gun control or an assault weapons ban. God forbid.
Yeah.
But
all right, John Weitzel asks, if the U.S. replaces first past the post voting with border count and replaced the 2-party system with a 7-party system, how better off would America be? I would say it would be worse. Especially the
7 parties?
He's basically talking about a parliamentary system.
Yeah,
parliamentary systems are terrible.
You're always going to have to basically whittle it down to the 2 biggest parties. Like, look what's going on in the UK right now as an example. It's Tories and Labour, 2 biggest ones.
Yeah, and the rest of them
you have your big 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest of them are inconsequential. And at the end of the day, it's easier to follow a 2-party system. And here's the thing, Hatman and I both want the Libertarian Party to get bigger, because there have been people who are a part of the Libertarian Party that are really good candidates, but they start realizing that they have more in line with conservatives, and they just end up becoming conservatives. Kane, Glenn Jacobs, was a Libertarian for the longest time. Recently ran in Knox County, in Knox County, Kentucky, I think is where it is at, as a Republican, wins the election. And then, what's his name? Austin Peterson, running for Senate in Missouri. I think the primary's today, actually. And hopefully he wins it. The polls say he will. And if he does, he's going to destroy Claire McCaskill. And we're going to have him in the Senate. But he's another prime example. The only thing that I think that Peterson is weak on is the border. But that's because I think that the Conservative Party have moved more in a libertarian direction. But regardless, my point is that it's so much easier for people to follow. But would I like to see, like, the Libertarian Party get bigger? Absolutely. because I would like another option that's a little stronger that can make a difference in the general elections, or even get some seats in the House and the Senate. But as it stands, the Libertarian Party has its problems. But here's the interesting thing about that. Parties don't last forever. The Whig Party is not around anymore. So, and the Democrat Party might fall away and become the Socialist Party at some point. It's a possibility. You know, it's again, slim chance, but it's a possibility. So, needless to say, like, the one thing we have to keep in mind is that what's going on now is not permanent. There is no permanence in politics, not in any sense of the term. So I think we both agree on that.
Well, I think maybe like 3 parties would be okay. The only issue really is having to form a coalition government, more or less.
Yeah.
Though we have the benefit that the whoever the president is doesn't necessarily have to have a majority in Congress of their party. You know, like with the prime ministers in other parliamentary countries.
Mm-hmm.
So that is an added benefit, and that's why I think maybe we could do 3, and that could possibly be something of a check against gridlock. But at the same time, I think that would more or less just end up defaulting to 2, and we have like maybe 1 or 2 libertarians or independents in Congress or in the Senate, pretty much like we do now.
Yeah, but I don't think that it should be like a parliamentary system. I think that if they're going to get there, they need to earn it.
True.
I don't think that they should just be there because they're a party. Because you have to keep in mind, there's a lot more, technically speaking, there's a lot more parties in the United States than you really think. There is already a socialist party. There's a communist party. There's a Nazi party. You know? Yeah,
but they shouldn't automatically have representation in Congress. Yeah,
no,
I agree.
You have to earn your way in.
Yeah, they should absolutely be earned. But at the same time, you know, there is the fact that you know, the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, those are like the 2 biggest of the third parties are more or less being kept down by what's the organization called? It's not the FEC, but it's basically the debate commission or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I can't remember the acronym, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, they don't get any sort of visibility outside of like your social media campaigns and, you know, little things. They don't get any federal funding because they're not at, I think, like 5% of the national vote.
Yeah,
that's what you have to meet the threshold of to get federal funds. So yeah, like it's just really, really difficult for them to even get to the point where they could earn it.
Yeah,
but that's just how it is, I suppose.
Well, and another thing that I think that is kind of a problem that we need to start seeing more from the libertarians, and we could have a whole separate video about the problems with the Libertarian Party.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I would say is they need to stop promoting weirdos. They need to take themselves seriously, because it seems like every candidate they run is a fucking weirdo.
They need to,
like they've
they
got
need to be
something
united.
about them. Well, there's that too, but because they don't really unite around principles. They've got all these ANCAPs in there, or lolbertarians, as Rocking Mr. E likes to call them, but they're basically ANCAPs that think that you should be able to sell heroin to a 7-year-old. That's not libertarianism. That's sociopathy.
Yeah.
So, there needs to be unification, but they have to take themselves seriously. You know, I don't see many serious people who would fly the flag of libertarianism, even though they do have some they align with certain libertarian ideas. You know, that was my big disappointment in the Libertarian Party with the last election, because I would have voted for them if they had taken themselves seriously. But when you've got this giant naked man dancing on stage, this giant naked fat atheist, you know, it's like, I don't want to see TJ Kirk's like Down syndromed older brother dancing on stage at a fucking debate or announcement of candidacy. That's retarded.
Yep. No.
I want a debate on the issues. You know, you want my vote, you got to tell me what you're doing for me. You got to earn that vote, and they didn't earn it. Instead, we got, Austin Peterson, who should have been the guy, who could have demanded to be on the debate stage, and it would have made a lick of sense. Instead, we got, what is a Aleppo? I'm high all the time. Ha! Sorry, I keep doing the same thing whenever I impersonate Gary Johnson. Anyway, let's move on. Hardboiled Entertainment asks, thoughts on California Supreme Court striking down the 3-state split from the ballot? Cowardice.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Fuck California. Exterminatus on California.
We have arrived, and it is now that we fulfill our charge. In fealty to the Lord our God, and by the grace of his throne, I declare exterminatus upon whatever scumbag we're declaring exterminatus on today. I hereby sign the death warrant of an entire wherever, and consign 1,000,000 souls, maybe, to oblivion. May imperial justice account in all balance. The Emperor protects.
Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult.
Deus freaking Volt.
Deus Vult indeed.
Alright, Holy Ninja asks, what is your advice for a young man who is struggling with his inner critic of his life? Here's my question. Is it an inner critic, or is it an inner pessimist? That's the real thing, is that if your inner critic, if the part of you that is reminding yourself of your shortcomings is a pessimist as opposed to a realist, if it's not helping to find solutions, then that's a pessimism problem. That's not a critical problem. Because I had an inner pessimist for the long time, and I still have one, that tells me, that you're not good enough, that you're not worth it. And I just tell myself, that's the depression talking. My inner critic says, maybe you're not ready yet. What do you need to do to get ready? So, I'll give an example. I am very hard on myself because of my weight. I've been dieting. I've been on the diet, off the diet. I've struggled with it, but it's just about developing a pattern. And what I'm telling myself throughout the month of August is to exercise as much as possible, diet as hard as possible. You're going to slip up. When you slip up, don't hold it against yourself. Just keep moving forward. And then we're going to see how my weight is at the end of the month. And I've done a pretty good job. I've cut down on... I don't think I've drank anything sugary except for tea. As you see, I've got my giant gallon of water with me, so I'm drinking water constantly. And it's actually helping with my hunger. And I'm finding keto recipes. But why am I doing... And, I'm going to get into kickboxing, and I've got my heavy bag over here. I'll show you on the camera. Literally right by my desk here. Why am I doing this? Because I want to be a better man. I want to be stronger. Like, you could see through, with the white shirt here, that I've clearly gained a bit of muscle definition. I've lost a lot of the chub on my throat. My face is a lot slimmer than it used to be. And the thing about it is, I'm doing it because I don't want to be alone forever. I want to walk down the hallway at work and for women to go, damn. Because I was that way before when I was in college, but that was 10 years ago. And I am not of the opinion that glory day is not unreachable again. So, the question you have to ask yourself is my inner critic a pessimist? If the inner critic's a pessimist, then you need to start rephrasing, or looking at the statements and start rephrasing them. So let's say you're overweight like I am. I am too big. What do I do? What is the steps to get smaller? Diet, exercise, the whole 9 yards. Okay, I know the way forward. I'm going to work for it. Am I not smart enough? Okay, what am I not doing to see how smart I am? Am I reading? Am I listening to lectures? When I listen to lectures, am I understanding what's going on? If the answer is no, okay, let's try something else. I can't find a job. What are you looking for? Why are you looking for it? What if you can't get that job? Are you asking why you've been turned down? If so, what skills do you have to acquire to get the job? In the meantime, are you doing other things to try to improve your life? Are you learning about software online? Are you Are you trying to become an autodidact if you're capable of doing so? Autodidact meaning you're largely self-taught. Because I am an autodidact in just about everything that I've done since my college days. I kid you not. Everything I know about video editing, everything I know about software, almost everything I know about Microsoft Word these days, and different Photoshop and things like that, I'm completely self-taught. Bass guitar, completely self-taught. You know, like, it's crazy when you think about it. But some people are autodidacts. They can learn on their own very easily. So, the question is, are you trying, is that part of you seeking improvement? Because that's the point of criticism that a lot of people don't really understand. A lot of people who get on the internet who are critics are assholes. And they don't talk about how things could be better. Spoonie is not a critic. Spoonie is not a cynic either. Well, now he's a loser. But he never really sought to criticize so that things could improve. He sought to criticize to be mad and get clicks. And that's the problem. And you'll notice that a lot of these people who are that kind of person don't go anywhere in their life aside from internet fame. And that's a fleeting thing. You know, I have a career. You know, I have a job right now where in a few months I'll be making more money than I already am, possibly. Plus, there will be other opportunities within the company I work for to move to different states, to get to move to different departments, to constantly be doing work that I find interesting, and thus go into a job where my mind is being tested on a regular basis, and I'm excited by that. But it took me 7 years to get here. So, one thing that I would recommend doing is, I don't often recommend TED Talks, but one that I found really helpful was Jocko Willnick's TED Talk called Extreme Ownership. He also has a book called Extreme Ownership. I haven't read it yet. I've heard it's great. And his podcast talks a lot about this sort of shit too. But if your inner critic is keeping you down, it's not a critic, it's a pessimist. If your inner critic is giving you criticism that is constructive, then it's an actual critic and it will help you get better. Because that is what my inner critic is now. I'm not there yet, but there's something underneath all the filth. There's something underneath the mess. And when I clean it up, what I'm going to find is something incredible.
Bless you.
Thank you. Hatman, anything to add there?
I think you've pretty much said everything that I was thinking of, so.
Well, I seem to be very, very inspirational today, and I want to thank Super Male Vitality! No, I'm kidding. But just to let people know I have this stuff, and it is nasty. It is nasty. It's like taking two drops of like shitty syrup. Like
oh God.
I'll fill up the thing real quick to just kind of show the audience. Like, this stuff is gross, man. Like
crappy table syrup, not maple syrup, but table syrup.
Well, no, it's like crappy maple syrup because it's made from like a sweet root or something like
yeah,
that. And
that's what I mean by table syrup. Because when it's really crappy, they don't even bother calling it maple anymore.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's really bad. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So now we got to move to the most recent week. Koopa's Revenge Home asks, that's a new guy. Welcome. Will communism/socialism ever be as reviled as Nazism, or has that ship sailed? And has the damage already been done? It's going to take time, but I think it will.
Yeah.
I think people are just going to have to get educated on the fact that it doesn't work.
Well, that it can't work. Yeah, beyond that.
My advice would be keep up the memes. Yeah. Like, that, believe it or not, a good meme, a meme that makes sense and makes you laugh. Like, dude, that is, that's actually a good move. So,
more memes, more helicopters.
Yes. Just, big thing to do is don't take it seriously. Just mock it, because it is a silly idea. Brian Gilmartin asks, any thoughts on veganism? Is it a viable, healthy diet long-term, just a fad, or is it not healthy at all? Well, with the risk of vegan gains flipping out and threatening to kill me, like it seems like he does to everybody, I will say this. I've met people who aren't evangelical vegans who are in great shape, but they will freely admit it is not completely easy to stay up on protein. And
Not to mention, it is very expensive too.
Yeah, you have to be pretty wealthy to be able to be a vegan. It takes it takes more money for me to be on keto than it does a normal diet, you know, that like most people would eat. I used to spend maybe about $50 every 2 weeks on groceries. Now I spend like 80 or 90 because I've got to buy bacon, I've got to get ground beef and chicken and pork chop, and I can't like have it prepackaged. I have to cut it myself. Like it's crazy the shit I got to do. So, but with that said though, again, if you can solve the protein problem, it seems to do pretty well. My problem, or the problem with veganism, is not the diet itself. It's you just got to be able to do it correctly. But that's the truth of any diet: veganism, vegetarianism, paleo, keto, so on and so forth. There's a technique to it and a learning process to it that is very hard to get through. And if you screw it up, then it will screw you up. But I've seen people who are. I knew this girl who, I worked out next to a couple times at the gym I used to go to, and I was doing like Olympic lifting, and then I would go up and work the medicine ball for a bit, and she would like, this girl, I swear to God, had perfect abs, perfect, and she showed me a picture on her phone of before she started as a vegan, and she was in good shape, you know, but she didn't like being a soft body, if that makes sense. Like, she wanted definition. And then she got on veganism, and it seemed like she didn't hold in as much water weight as she used to. So she just had, like, abs for days. Like, this chick was in amazing shape. And it really did wonders for her. Another person who did wonders for her is John Fitch, the mixed martial artist. He found his weight cuts were considerably easier when he was on a vegan diet. You know, that seems to be the key, is like it helps you shred water weight. Keto does that too, 2 degrees. Like, I dropped 10 pounds my first month on it, and a lot of that was water weight, because carbohydrates can like soak that in. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Hatman, have you had any experience in talking to vegans or known people who are vegans?
Oh yeah. Of the ones that I know, they're really not like your stereotypical militant vegan, but really both of them do it for more ethical reasons than health reasons. Which, yeah, that's fine. You know, you go by whatever morality suits you, as long as it's not harming anybody. I don't, you know, it's not my place to judge. And they seem to be perfectly happy with it. You know, the only issue with them is it's very expensive, and sometimes meals can be kind of boring because, ironically enough, both of them are very picky eaters.
Yeah, it's very hard to diet as a picky eater, trust me.
Yeah.
Like, I have been hunting the internet for keto recipes, and it has not been easy. Though, Hatman, did you see the meal that I posted on Twitter yesterday?
I did, and that actually looks pretty good.
It's fucking amazing. And yeah, there's no carbohydrates in it. It is basically, it's heavy cream, tomato paste, cheddar cheese, hamburger, 2 pounds of hamburger, 1 pound of bacon, and I used the 7317 hamburger, juicy as hell. So I had a little bit for lunch, and I had a bit more for dinner, because I eat a big dinner at the end of the day to kind of recoup from the morning workout. And a day of work. So, tell you what, man, oddly enough, I'm thirsty, but I'm not that hungry. So, I'm going to try a chicken bacon ranch casserole recipe next week. Because this shit will, like, feed you for a week, if you're a bachelor like I am. So, yeah.
Shit, you might have to share that recipe, too.
Hey, man, if it turns out good, I certainly will. I would love, at some point, if I had the equipment and the lighting in my kitchen, because the lighting in my kitchen kind of sucks right now, I would actually show people how to do this stuff. So, but I don't have that, and I don't have a camera person either. So,
show everybody your secret taco recipe.
Absolutely. All right, CT117 asks, do we think the alt-right would be against adoptions because they only want to have families who are blood-related? I've actually heard them say that, yes. Or at least one person. Because, yeah, they think that you should be blood-related and there needs to be a... they have to maintain the purity of the white race. So, yeah. So, they're retarded.
Yep. Nothing really more needs to be said about that.
Crystal Wing says he saw Sargon's video on Venezuela. How did no one shoot the dictator before it got so bad? He disarmed the public.
Yep. They tried bombing him recently, too. Or, supposedly they tried to bomb him, but people are thinking it was a false flag attack now to try and further crack down on the resistance, but...
Whatever.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a dictator in power.
Yep. All right. Christ Jones asks, do we think that the soy-faced leftists will get off their punch-a-Nazi high horse when they start getting their asses kicked? I really don't want that to happen, but that's the thing, is a lot of people who have never been in a fight have an idea of how a fight is going to go, and they sound like retarded.
There was that story going around, I think it was a couple months ago, about how Antifa cells were starting to get demoralized because everybody who showed up on their side was like a really wimpy white boy, more or less, and they could not get any muscle on their side. And I think they actually said, where are the intimidating black people to join us? It was actually hilarious, but I think they're all just mostly talk anyway. I mean, you've seen the footage, you've seen what happens to them. You know, they get their asses handed to them enough times, but you know, most of them haven't even been in a real fight anyway. Most of them don't know how to throw a punch. And most of them don't know how to shoot a gun. So their ideas of, you know, ending the fascist storm or taking over the country through an armed revolution, it's nonsense. It's not even LARPing at that point.
Yeah.
It's just a pipe dream.
Basically. I mean, a lot of them think that throwing a punch, because my camera window is so small in this little show, and can I really go to full camera on this? I don't think I can. Is basically this. It's all an arm motion of a flick of your tricep that sends the fist forward. It's not how you punch. This is like fist bump. Like, that doesn't hurt. That's like... That's nothing. That doesn't generate any power. That's why when Mike Cernovich was... I think he was in Texas at one point, like a year or two ago, and somebody did that to him, and SJW did it to him, like, that was the punch, and he starts screaming, "Adult! Adult! Adult!" I'm like, you pussy. Like, really? I would have started laughing at the guy for that. Because that's not a punch. So, because punches are generated from your hips and your back. You know, there's some people have said, like, it starts at the heel or it starts at the kneecap. You know, it comes from, you know, your legs. What is the term for it? It's not kinesthetic motion. It's kinetic linking is what it's called. It's a scientific term. The idea of using the whole body to swing. You know, it's like, that's one thing that I learned when I self-studied kendo, is that your swings don't come from your arms. There's no power there. It's just going to, if your sword connected with something, it's just going to get launched out of your hand. But instead, and I also thought that the grip was this, and it's actually this. If you swing at your hip, and you get your whole back into it and your body, you can carve through, you know, somebody really easily. So, but that's the thing. You have to be trained to fight. You know, you have to learn how to fight. It's not something that comes natural to a lot of people. You know, and a lot of people who are naturally good at fighting are professional fighters. It just comes natural to them. Here's a really good example. It's TJ Dillashaw. Probably my favorite fighter right now. He just defended his bantamweight title. That dude is a natural fighter. He loves combat. But people like these guys, like, they think of like video games and film, like hand traps and all this other nonsense as how a fight goes, and they've never been hit in the head, and they don't know what that kind of pain really is. And it hurts to get punched in the face. It hurts to have your eye swollen. Hurts to get a tooth knocked out. I know, it happened to me. So I sadly think that that's what's going to have to happen, because I don't want it to happen to anybody, as I've said over and over and over again. But some people are going to have to lose to understand what it means to lose. And I think that what's going to end up happening is somebody's going to attack somebody at a convention or something like that, and they're going to get beat up very badly in a counterattack. And that's what's going to happen, is they're going to have to somebody's going to have to look and say, oh my God, that just happened. You know, somebody on our side tried to attack this supposed Nazi and got blown out. And not like one of these things where it's like Nathan Damingo, Manlet Nathan, punching Moldy Locks. Like that's a midget punching a midget. You know, it's not really that impressive. He threw an arm punch too. He doesn't know how to punch. So the fact that he dropping a little girl, like a 90-pound girl, is not impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it'll happen where they go against somebody who actually knows what they're doing, and they'll catch a knee to the face from a clinch position, or they'll catch a counter right hook, or a cross counter, or a head kick even, or maybe a body kick. And suddenly they're going to get kicked in the liver, and they're going to go, "Oh God, what is this feeling?" You know, and they're gonna think they're dying. But again, they've never felt that pain, so they don't know. They've never really fought pain at all, so they don't know. In a weird way, they've never faced reality, and they've got to, you know, at some point it's going to hit them in the face, literally or figuratively.
Well, let's be real. It's not even a weird way they've never faced reality. I mean, just from their politics alone, that's enough evidence to show they've never faced reality.
Fair point. All right. Autist Whisper, well, let's start entertainment now. Autist Whisper asked, is gatekeeping in comics the issue, or is it gatekeepers? Personally, I think being too open caused many other has caused many other industries to flounder. I would agree with that.
Yeah. What's that old saying? You can't be so open-minded that your brain falls out?
Yeah, exactly. Because that was my thing, where I didn't really understand why Captain Cummings was attacking Ethan Van Sciver. You know, that's one of the reasons why I'll probably never really patch things up with that guy, because I think that he really doesn't take time to understand things. It's one of my big criticisms of him, and it's been that way between me and him since the start. Is he doesn't really take the time to look at all the angles, but that's the case with a lot of people, so he's not alone in that. But I like, if Richard Spencer wanted to get into comic books and somebody said no to him, I wouldn't be mad. You know, there in the comic book industry, there needs to be sensible gatekeeping, because you just let anyone in, and all of a sudden, you know, your house has shit all over the floor, and somebody is smiling before they run out. There are some people who are in there just to get their own message across, and not really to entertain. And that's the thing, is you have to determine motivation. You know, and that's people's like, oh, that's gatekeeping. Well, if you're sensible gatekeeping, all it is freedom of association. Which, believe it or not, we have that. So, if Sina Grace, or what's her face who wrote America Chavez, Gabby Rivera, came to a comic company I owned and wanted to write a comic, I would tell them no. Because they suck. That's gatekeeping, though. So, no, I don't think that gatekeeping is necessarily bad. I think that gatekeeping based on personal politics is bad. Because it's denying somebody who might be talented, or who is talented, just based on the way they vote, which has nothing to do with why people buy comic books. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's basically just the people in power. It's more gatekeepers than gatekeeping. I mean, once they get to decide, what lives and what dies, then, what good is any amount of gatekeeping as long as they're at the top?
Yeah. Because whenever you have a company, and this is something that I think I understand because I ran a company before, and I've been a manager and things like that, and I've been in charge of other people, is you have to think about, like, who you want associated with your brand. And that's oftentimes why they have, like, drug policies or behavior policies or non-disclosure agreements. Like, the company I work for, which you'll never hear which one it is, and I'll never put it online. The reason for that is for an NDA. You know, I have told them I'm never going to disclose who I work for in public. So, regardless, yeah, like I think that sensible gatekeeping is just, again, it's just freedom of association. But yeah, if you're gonna gatekeep based on personal politics and that person's personal politics aren't nefarious, then you're just being petty, and it has no place. Anything to add, Hatman?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Hellblazer asks, thoughts on Rocksteady's rumored Superman game set in the Arkhamverse? Would you be interested in the studio exploring other DC heroes in the universe they've established? Yes! I want a fucking Red Hood game!
Yeah, I don't know about Superman, though.
I'm okay with Superman.
Well, Superman is just a really... I think Superman is just a really hard game to pull off, just because of how OP he is.
Yeah.
Like, how do you bring that down to a level of the possibility of failure?
You'd have to have a lot of high impact enemies. Or you'd have to bring his power down to something like Superman the Animated Series.
Yeah. Now that's something a little bit more reasonable. Or have like New 52 Superman, like where he starts to have his powers change and almost revert back to what they were in like the Golden Age. Well, early Golden Age.
Yeah. That would be something I would like, though. I mean, but yeah, the more stuff in the Arkhamverse would be great. You know, I would like to see them explore what happens after Arkham Knight, which I can't spoil for Hatman because he hasn't played him yet and needs to.
Oh, I know what happens at the end of Arkham Knight.
Oh, you do? Well,
yeah.
I'll be just in case the audience hasn't played it then.
Okay.
But I'd like to see that explored with like a Red Hood game or Red Hood and the Outlaws, or just call it Outsiders and have it be the three Robins of Red Hood, Robin, and Red Robin, but Jason Todd, Dick Grayson, and Tim Drake. Have a game that features them and stuff like that, because I think that's an interesting take on the universe. And yeah, I would like to see Superman. I'd like to see Wonder Woman.
A Wonder Woman game would be great. I'd love to see that. Or
just like a street, like if you're gonna go with like the old Arkham playstyle, just a general street level game with several characters like Green Arrow and Black Canary would be fucking great. Huntress, who's in Deathstroke, bring him back, of course. He was really fun to play as in Origins.
What about something like a Damian Wayne centered game where it's like he's...
Well, let's not spoil the story, but I think I already know what you're thinking, and that would be interesting. Or I thought about this: take a twist and make a Batman Beyond Arkham.
Yes, please. Any Batman Beyond game, I'm down for.
Well, here was my twist. You have Tim Drake, Dick Grayson, and Jason Todd have all retired, and of course Bruce is still alive, and he finds Terry McGinnis, and Terry becomes Batman. The bad guy is Damian Wayne, and they're basically fighting for the right of the cowl.
Oh no, that would be cool.
I should write video games, I think.
Please.
I would
love that.
Yeah, Batman Beyond Arkham is what I would call it, and it would be pretty fucking crazy. And I wouldn't mind integrating certain elements of the Return of the Joker movie too, because we'd have to bring back the original Terry McGinnis voice actor.
Oh yeah.
And I would bring back like Amanda Waller too. Have Deathstroke be an enemy, and he still hasn't aged. Like little things like that would be really cool. And other Batman Beyond, like I somehow try to fit Ink in there too. I always liked Ink a lot.
Yeah.
I never really liked, who was his main enemy, the radioactive dude, who was basically
Oh God.
Blight.
Yes, Blight. That's him.
Yeah. No Blight though. Didn't like Blight. He was just a ripoff of the radioactive man from Marvel, but a businessman instead of a Chinese.
He was cool to look at though.
Yeah, he had a cool design, if nothing else. God, I loved I went back and I watched the Mr. Freeze arc from Batman Beyond. That one was really good too.
That was weird though. You know, just severed head, man.
Oh yeah, I liked it anyway. I always thought it was really, really neat. But I can't remember the guy who voiced him, but man, he was.
That always skeeved me out though. The fact that literally he was a head in a jar. Like,
yeah. All right. Matchstick7886 asks, since we got Clone Wars and Young Justice back, do we think that if we pushed hard enough, we'll get other unfinished shows like Teen Titans and Spectacular Spider-Man back? Funny you should ask. That's how you can tell it's a 2-week-old question. We are getting Teen Titans back, apparently.
Yeah.
Though oddly enough, I'm more psyched for the next season of Young Justice than anything. But I did like Teen Titans back in the day. I liked Raven quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I blame Raven.
Yeah, her arc was great.
I wasn't that Tara Strong who voiced Raven?
Yes. But
Raven is the reason when I was younger I was into goth girls. So, but Spectacular Spider-Man, like, Marvel isn't trying to make animated features that are meant for teenage or older audiences. So that's kind of a bummer. So I would hope that if with Marvel's streaming service that they would be more open to doing something like that, because I would like to see that, like, competition, like a Champions cartoon or you know, something along those lines, or bring back Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes and try to tell more mature stories. You know, I would like to see them pull a coup and hire Bruce Timm. Sadly, Dwayne McDuffie is no longer with us, but
yeah,
he was a special writer when it came to Justice League Unlimited, that's for sure. But actually what I would like to see is, like, you bring in people who worked on the comics to write the episodes like they did with Batman the Animated Series. Well, Dan Didio did a lot of the series, but you had the episodes that were written by Marv Wolfman, and because I remember when I was talking to Chuck Dixon, he's like, yeah, I wish I could have done that, but they did include Bane, so he's like, I was very happy about that. So Chuck was awesome. Chuck is an awesome guy. I'm looking forward to talking to him again sometime. Crystal Wing asks, you mentioned in the last Overflow you talked about X-Men and the Avengers taking the public spotlight. Do you think the Thunderbolts could ever reach that level of fame? You know, I think that there will be a point in the future where villains and anti-heroes are going to become cool again, cooler, I should say, than heroes, and like the younger audience is going to start to get away from superheroes. That will be a time where I think you could possibly push the Thunderbolts and the Suicide Squad as well.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to take some time though, and you're going to need some more better written villains first and foremost, or just anti-heroes in general. I mean, we got the masterpiece that was the Punisher season 1 on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Oh yeah.
You know, Marvel's been doing really good with their villains lately. Thanos, my God, Thanos did absolutely nothing wrong. So far, so good, but you need to keep it up.
I would love to see the Thunderbolts though, like because Zemo's not dead.
Nope.
So you could bring in some of those characters. I'd love to see Songbird in the MCU in some capacity, and Beetle, you know, who later becomes Mach 5, and just the because for Zemo, it could be a way of creating his own Avengers to get at the Avengers, because he hates them so much. Or, and then for the rest of them, they actually are trying to redeem themselves as people, and it causes an inner conflict. So,
yeah, something of a, we can protect the Earth better than they can, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Oh, here's a good one. This is one that's gonna Hatman. You have to pick one.
Oh Lord.
Favorite Pokemon.
Oh.
We all know mine. It's motherfucking Blastoise.
Blastoise
Blastoise
Master
Master
Race.
Race.
Okay. Are we talking like regular Pokemon? Like
All Pokemon.
No, of all.
Of
so
all.
legendaries included.
Included, yes.
Mewtwo.
There we go.
Bar
Good
none,
pick,
Mewtwo. If it was no legendaries allowed, Eevee. I fucking love Eevee.
Eevee is like the milkshake of Pokemons. It can literally be any flavor you want later on.
Yeah.
So. Holy Ninja asks if we were to make in charge of making an animated series, not a reboot or a revival, what would it be? I would make a Deathstroke series or a Black Panther series, either or based on the Christopher Priest run. Actually, it'd be either that or I would do the Red Hood and the Outlaws with the Dark Trinity of Red Hood, Bizarro, and Artemis.
I'd make a Howard the Duck series.
Wasn't there one already?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I could have swore there was.
Not to my knowledge, there wasn't one. If there is, then why the fuck don't I know about it?
No, there was just a motion comic.
Yeah.
Just a motion comic.
No, I'd totally make a Howard the Duck. I'd have Seth Green work on it and Matthew Steinrich too. Just have the Robot Chicken do a Howard the Duck animated series.
Yeah,
I think that'd be great.
That'd be interesting. Okay, Ryan Ruby fan asks thoughts on the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not Spider-Man 2, the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I never saw it, so I can't say anything about it.
The movie?
Yeah, it's the one with Electro and Rhino and not Goblin.
They did the exact same thing that they knew they fucked up on in Spider-Man 3. They had too many fucking villains.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't do that. You don't fucking do that. Not to mention, Electro was just a big fucking letdown.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard.
So, waste of Jamie Foxx, man.
The first movie, in my opinion, was a big letdown too, because it was basically trying to be the Sam Raimi films.
Yeah.
But with a different lead. And Andrew Garfield was a pretty good Spider-Man, but he was a terrible Peter Parker.
Yeah. Who was the guy that directed Mark Webb?
I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, they shouldn't have gotten him. Because I think he was known for like 500 Days of Summer before that.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you get someone who makes like small level indie films, more or less, to take on something like Spider-Man? Like, why?
Yeah. Mark Webb did both of them. But
yeah.
I would have to say that this is while the MCU was going on. I would think that they would have a better sense of casting or of directorial casting, because Ruben Fleischer for Venom, like, I'm still not happy with the turd in the wind thing. But I watched the trailer one more time, and I did cut out that line, instant badassery. So I'm like, okay, I'm actually excited about this. Maybe there'll be just one bad line, because a lot of films have one bad line. But he's a good pick because Venom is horror, but also can be comedy. Ruben Fleischer is really good at the mix. I mean, that's what Zombieland is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Webb was a terrible, terrible choice.
Yeah.
All right, Zachary White asks, ever play anything from White Wolf, like Vampire the Masquerade? If so, what's your favorite clan faction? I haven't either, so we're going to have to...
No.
I have played the video game of the Masquerade video game. What's it called? Bloodlines. And that's, like, from what little I played, I enjoyed it. But I barely know anything about it.
I don't do anything from White Wolf on principle.
All right. Any thoughts on what we know about Wonder Woman 2 so far from Hardboiled Entertainment? I just like Gal Gadot in the role.
Apparently, Steve Trevor is back somehow.
Probably a flashback.
It doesn't seem like it based on what was the promotional photos. It's got him in a 1984 setting, so I don't know, man. This is weird, unless it's like a ghost or some kind of mental projection or whatever.
That's what I'm thinking it's gonna be.
It's possible. I hope it's just that instead of like he actually like comes back in a physical form. That just cheapens his sacrifice in Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Kristen Wiig has been cast as Cheetah, though.
Let's hope she does better in this than she did in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, because I'm thinking to myself, it's like, really? Kristen Wiig? She could end up doing good, but she's gonna have to act her ample butt off.
Well, I expect they'll have a better script anyway, so.
Well, let's hope. Let's see here. Now, from the week after, John Whitesell asks, exterminate us on Gen Con for knowing the fuckface that assaulted Jeremy and been showcasing the game. Just don't go to Gen Con. I'm not even going to give them the attention.
Speaking of, whatever happened to Anita Sarkeesian's panel there?
I don't even know if it even happened. Why she was there is beyond me. She has nothing to do with board games.
It's like special. She was a special guest or something, and it's like you didn't hear anything about it over the entire 4-day event.
I bet she wasn't happy with getting upstaged.
That's possible.
She is just a horrid human. But anyway, let's move on. I don't want to give her any more attention than I need to.
Nope.
Hardboiled Entertainment says Terry Shepard said metal is inherently right-wing, as it's all about individualism, self-reliance, kicking butt, toting guns, getting girls, etc. Agree. Not quite. There's a lot of anti-war stuff, and a lot of anti-right-wing stuff in metal. I would say it's inherently blue-collar.
Yeah. That seems more
It really is
accurate.
The blue-collar band's music.
I mean, God, think about Rage, for example. They are very much left-wing.
Yeah. They're not a metal band, but they're, a lot of people who are metalheads love Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
No, I don't really think that's the case. I think that, if heavy metal is about any one thing, it is about freedom. So I think that vibes with Americans quite a bit, but it vibes with a lot of people because of that. And independence and things like that. Like,
people love it.
Yeah.
People love freedom.
It's that, and it's a lot about just self-expression. Not bottling shit up inside of you. Letting it out. Eclectic 1995 asks, what do we believe makes a superhero costume great? In my opinion, a superhero costume has to tell you everything you need to know about the character itself. Is the character grandiose, or does he move in the shadows? Is he patriotic or not so much? Does he emphasize, or what sort of image is he trying to project? Captain America, he's the symbol of the nation. Superman is supposed to come across like this great protector. Batman is supposed to come across like a bat, lurks in the shadows, comes from the sky. You don't see him coming. Daredevil is a similar prospect. He takes a devil's motif to scare you. To have an intimidating factor. The Punisher wears death on his chest. Iron
Man's got a whole bunch of different costumes because, he's kind of flashy and he's got, armor for every possible situation.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, of course, it's a spider with a web motif on it.
Yeah.
Great design there. Venom, literally just a hulking dude with a white spider on his chest.
He's supposed to be a dark reflection of Spider-Man. What Spider-Man could be if he ever let loose.
Yeah. Carnage is just fucking crazy.
That. Yeah, there is no real design to Carnage. He's constantly shifting, constantly moving, never static.
Yeah.
And, and that's basically what he is. He is blood. He is death.
Yeah.
He is a moving. He is the walking death of comic books. So, yeah, that's sort of what I think makes a superhero or supervillain costume great.
Yeah, something that makes him iconic too.
Yeah, Doctor Doom looks regal in the way that he dresses, but still sort of mysterious. Sort of the
Doctor Strange has sort of that same look too.
Yeah,
he's got Eye of Agamotto there and amulets and shit all over. It's like, yeah, this dude looks like he came from somewhere mystical.
He is a sorcerer. Yeah,
it reflects it very well.
Thor is Prince of Asgard. So he has this long flowing cape. God of Thunder, he's straight from myth and so on and so forth. There's a lot of different things like that, but yeah, that's the long and short of it. Crystal Wing asks, for both of us, have we ever played the Dynasty Samurai Warriors games, and would we play one based on Knights of Crusaders? I would definitely play it, and I have played those games. They're fun.
I'd play it. I'd play it, but I can only take so much of a button masher. Like even the old, or I guess I have to call them the old God of War games now. Like I can only take so much of that at a time. As much as I love God of War, and Dynasty Warriors is just a lot of fucking button mashing. At least God of War, like, you had some platforming and puzzle solving along the way. Dynasty Warriors is just, here are hundreds of people coming to kill you. Kill them first.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some mindless fun, but for me, I can only do so much with it. But Crusaders and whatnot, I'd give it a shot. Why not? I'd Deus Vult for a little bit with it.
Okay, Swordsman asks, thoughts on Riot being the main villain for the Venom movie? Well, it's more so Carlton Drake.
Yeah.
But I'm good with it. It's got to start somewhere. I can't remember the who all had the symbiotes at first. Let's see here. Oh, Trevor Cole. So and he died pretty quickly. So yeah, apparently Scream is going to be in the film as well. So there's technically two villains.
Scream, and I think Phage is supposed to be in it too.
Maybe, but yeah, it's but you see Scream's symbiote in the canisters. So I always liked Scream. I always thought she was kind of cool. But portrayed by Michelle Lee apparently. But Michelle Lee, some of you may know, is the voice of Ada Wong from Resident Evil. So that's kind of cool. God, the Scream symbiote on Ada Wong in Resident Evil, that'd be crazy. Okay. Koopa's Revenge Home asks, thoughts on Smash Brothers Ultimate, and would I ever stream with V? Yes to the second one. I don't really care about Smash Brothers.
I like Smash Brothers.
What are your thoughts on Smash Brothers Ultimate?
I fucking want it. I'm glad that they're bringing back literally everybody, because I missed playing as Snake, man. I really did. Only thing is, like, I don't know how I like the changed Final Smashes yet, because they're supposed to be like really quick and punchy and whatnot, and I'm kind of worried that it's basically just going to be more luck based rather than skill as to who gets damaged or killed by them. It's like you're more in the wrong place at the wrong time, as opposed to you're able to control what you do with it. But I don't know. I haven't played the game yet, so I can't really say anything.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add. Kale Bach asks, did we check out the video by Arch Warhammer where he read an article about how apparently in 40k Slanesh causes the gay and that Imperium players are fascist?
We've used up our exterminatus today.
Yeah, but just insert one here. Just Jesus Christ. Ryan Ruby fan says thoughts on Dark Side Phil gaming. Don't care.
That's another one we don't need to be giving any attention to.
Yeah, don't care. Don't care at all. CT117 asks, do we think that Disney is getting too much hate with handling Star Wars when it's really Kennedy and Johnson who are fuck-ups? Well, they kind of have refused to pull the trigger publicly on both of them.
Yeah.
So I can understand why they would blame Disney. If I were in Disney's shoes, like the instant I saw the backlash toward those films, I would have given them both the boot.
Nah, I would have done it after Solo though, because the fucking box office numbers for Solo being so damn low on a movie that would have been safe as hell otherwise, that would have been enough to oust him. Because that's when you know that the outrage caused that.
Yeah.
Have you seen, kind of a tangent, but still sort of related, have you seen the Ryan the Boat Builder comic yet?
No.
Okay, go look that up. It's a little allegory about the making of The Last Jedi and how Star Wars is kind of fucked up right now. And it's incredible. Anybody else out there who hasn't seen this yet, go check it out. It's great, and it's totally on fucking point.
Fair enough. All right. Last one. Oh. It's actually a compliment from Ryan Potter. Says, not a question, but I want to let you guys know that I really enjoy your podcast and glad I found you guys. Thanks for putting up with my shit posts. No problem, Ryan.
Thanks for sticking around, dude.
Yeah, thank all of you for being patient with us as well as we get this hour-long overflow to you. So.
Yeah, this is not an overflow. This is a flood.
Yes. So, we need to take off. I have laundry to do. Hatman, I'm sure, has stuff to do on his end.
I gotta put some chicken in me.
Yeah. So, we are going to take off. Remember, the Micah and the Hatman podcast will be moving to this channel at the end of August. So, if you're just coming to this episode, this is your first time here, please do not hesitate to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you will be aware of every podcast. Because, again, we'll be over there in just a few weeks when we do the 2-year anniversary special. So, with all that said, my name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hat Man.
We'll see you guys next week. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.